Vlad, can you lead the prayer? Okay. Jess, Visaya, Mr. Visaya. No mic. Okay. Si Joseph na lang. Mr. Silian. How about Rico?
Hello, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Sige.
Okay.
Can you lead the prayer, please?
Yes, ma'am. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive those.
And forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sinned against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Praise be Jesus and Mary.
Now and forever.
Okay, now and forever. Okay, so naka-lunch na ba tanan? Okay, hopefully, no, nangabusog mo sa inyohang lunch kanina. And, okay, so, unfortunately, wala, gihapon ako na humanog check ang inyohang activity. So, wala pa daw. Okay, so you can have working lunch or you can okay lang 'to, Mr. Rico. Okay lang na kaon mo din ano, i-mute lang ang inyong microphone. Okay, so unfortunately wala pa gyud ako nahuman og-check ang inyong activity, so I cannot yet discuss the answers. But the majority sa inyoha nakuha man ang pag-solve sa activity nato last time, no? So very good kayo. Okay, so this afternoon, I will be introducing one supervised machine learning algorithm. It's not the simplest, but maybe ano siya, very useful siya because in almost all type of continuous data, we use linear regression. Okay, so the example that I will be using this afternoon is just a simple one para dali lang nato ma-visualize. Ang importante is the goal and the objective is that you will be able to understand how katong example na ko last meeting na katong the model will try to learn the function that will produce the f of x or the output. Okay, so ang ato ang pangitaon is katong value ni function. So unsa ang mga uh, example in a certain linear model unsa ang value sa mga coefficients. Okay? So okay. So commonly used machine learning algorithms, as what I have discussed in our first meeting, we have this different machine learning algorithms, starting from k-means up until pababa. Uh, we normally use this for unsupervised learning mechanism. Although artificial neural network magamit pud ni siya sa supervised as long as, again, ang requirement nato sa supervised machine learning training or machine creating of supervised machine learning model is that naa siya ang input niya is data and output. Okay, so we need to have that pair para maka-consider ta nga supervised machine learning algorithm mga to ang gamiton. Pag data lang ang naa sa imuha, then it's an unsupervised machine learning algorithm ang ato ang gamiton ana. So either we use k-means clustering, we use PCA, that's principal component analysis, or we use kanang TISNI, and or we use this one dimensionality reduction algorithms. Okay, so the focus of our discussion this afternoon would be about linear regression. Okay, if we are able to fundamental ni siya, and if we are able to master linear regression, dali na lang sa tuwa mag-jump to other algorithms if we are to understand linear regression. Okay? So, kato siya. And balik ko na ako, linear regression and or doing regression analysis is good for continuous type of data. So we had discussed that there are ang type sa to ang input vectors can be continuous or can be ang type sa to ang output can be continuous or categorical. So when we say continuous data, meaning we don't have a specific number of output. So dili ta makaingon nga ang possible output ani na algorithm kay or model is 1 to 10. Okay? So wala siya limit. Pag may tag continuous data wala all possible real numbers could be the output of that model. Okay, that's why we do regression analysis or linear regression analysis. While logistic regression, good siya for categorical type of data. Okay, decision tree, SVM are also good algorithm for logistic regression. Okay, and then later on we'll know this naive based and KNN. Linear regression, this afternoon we'll learn what is regression, some regression use case, types of regression. Linear, pero we'll focus on linear regression. What is it all about? Finding the best fit. So, as we go along with, magamit lang ko sa Jamboard karon kay medyo, siya, mas nindot siya kung nakasulat siya. So, you can take notes while I'm discussing the different how to solve it. Pero i-upload na ko on Jamboard before the TLA, before you do your TLA para na mo'y tanawon. Okay, checking goodness of fit. So this is how, again, one requirement ay katong component sa tong machine learning is performance evaluation. So in linear regression, we can do this one R squared method to compute for the error. Okay, error of the predictions na ato ang ma-predict sa ato ang model. Okay. So sort, what is regression? Regression analysis is a form of predictive modeling, which investigates the relation between a dependent and independent variable. So if we think about dependent and independent variable, unsa ang una dayon na mo gawa sa to ang mind? It's the x and y. We can actually plot a Cartesian plane to it with an x-axis as your independent variable and your y-axis as your dependent variable. And normally, our x or independent variable, recall lang nato, i-review lang nato, pag may tag-independent variable, these are non-changeable na mga variables. While dependent variable, mo na siyang gitawag siya na dependent, it's because its output will actually depend on the input. Okay, so depending on the input, mag-change ang imong output. Okay, so that's what you plot in your y-axis. And it's a combination, x and y. So when we plot it in our, okay, wala daw internet sila tabugon. Okay, so I'll just address that problem later. Okay, so we'll just continue. And so pair dyan na siya, si x-axis, si x-axis is what are the uses the strength of predictors? Mo ni ato ang gamiton sa activity niya. We'll try to know kung may tag-predictor is compare na to ang katong sa movie review dataset na to ang gigamit last meeting. Asa ang mas good na predictor sa sales? Ang gross ba or ang katong budget? Okay? So let's try when you say predictor, asa ang mas maayo na variable to determine or to predict sales in the future or to forecast sales. Either you use the gross as your predictor or you use the budget as the predictor. So meaning you have your gross as your input or your X um, or ang mga values na ibutang nimo sa imong axis, and then you have the sales as your dependent or ang mga values na ibutang nimo sa imong y axis. Okay? And we compare it if mas good ba na predictor ang budget, wherein ang budget ibutang nato sa x-axis as our independent variable, and then sa y-axis nato would be the sales. If it's comparing budget versus gross as predictor. So we can use linear regression for that, for comparison. And aside from that, of course, we will use linear regression for prediction. Okay, so there are two types of regression analysis. Could either be linear regression or logistic regression. So when you say linear regression, the data is modeled using a straight line. Okay, so later mapakita na ko sa inyo kung saan siya nang pasabot sa straight line. The probability of some obtained event is represented as a linear function of a combination of predicted values. So meaning, pag may logistic regression, it's a probability. So you set some threshold. So example, nakay tulo ka class. Cat, bird, dog. So pag ang result sa imuhang model is between 0 to 4.5 na probability, okay? 0 to 4.5 na probability, then most likely ang classification ana niya is a cat. If between 4.6 to 7, ang probability nga result sa imong model, ang classification niya is sa dog. Pag 7.1 to 10, ang classification niya is sa bird. Okay, so mga ana siya, mo ni pasabot sa probability na obtained. Okay, it's not continuous type of data. Kaya kung continuous, possibly na ano siya, all possible real numbers na pwede nimo ma-enumerate. Okay, so mo na siya ang sa linear regression or continuous data, continuous variable. So, muna siya akong ginabalik-balik. Pag linear regression, continuous. Pag logistic, categorical. Ang output niya could be the value of the actual data. So, ang actual na computation. Pag logistic, normally it's probability. Okay? Accuracy of goodness of fit could be measured using loss, R squared, or adjusted R squared. So, later, magamit nato ning R squared. Okay? And then, logistic regression could either we use precision, recall, F1 score, curve, confusion matrix, or kanang precision recall mo ni siya ang component kanang true positive, false positive mo na siya ang confusion matrix. Okay, so maila-ila lang nato ni siya pag mag-logistic regression na ta. Okay, so we'll start with the how or what can we do with the or what problems can we solve with linear regression. So I'm going to try this. I borrowed a para mas dali ko makasulat. Pen tab sa lab. So hopefully magamit na ko ni siya, no. Kay lisod kayo ang mouse isulat. Ayos daw. Kaya na lang. Okay, so say for example, we have a set of our independent variable, which is our x. Hindi siya magsulat. Okay, wait lang ha. Another Okay, kadali lang ha. Okay, unfortunately, lisod jud kayo siya gamiton. Okay, I'll just try to use the mouse na lang. So hopefully masabtan ninyo no ang ako ang handwriting ani dire. So murag masayon pa kung mogamit og mouse. Okay. Okay. Start. Okay, so say we have a set of all our x's which has the value of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then we have a set of all our y's of which the corresponding value niya kay x1 would be 3. So ang output niya kay 3. Ang y niya para kay x2 which is 2 is 4. And then kay x3 kay 2, kay x4 kay 4, and then kay x5 kay 5. Okay, so natay ani. So if we tabulate this one, kung natay table ani, natay 1, 2, para mas masabtan siya, 5, and then sa y nato would be 3, 4, 2, 4. So if we plot this one to our katong independent and dependent variable, di lang wala din ako siya na-present. So if we plot this one to our graph, so kung natay graph na yung ani siya ha, wherein ang ato ang independent variable would be for the x-axis, and then sa y-axis nato will be the dependent. Okay, so kung sa dataset na gamito nato is katong movie review, and then we would want to know what would be the best predictor for sales, kung either gross ba or budget. Kung dako ba kag gross, dako pud ba kag sales, or kung dako ba kag budget, dako pud kag sales. So mo na siya ginatawag nato na predictor. Okay? So most likely, pag i-plot nato to siya, ang x nato would be the gross, and then or x nato would be the budget, and then ang y nato would be the sales. Okay? But if we're going to use this example, so say sa x nato, you have 1, you have 2, then you have 3, you have 4, and then you have 5. Then sa y nato, you have 3, you have 4, ay sige, 1 na lang, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 man ang max nila, no? So pag 1, ang iyang value kay 3. Pag 2, ang iyang value kay 4. Pag 3, ang iyang value kay 2, ang iyang y. Ang 4, ang iyang value kay 4. Dire. Pag 5 kay 5. Okay? Pag 6, asa kaya ang iyang value? Okay? So, mo na siya ang ginatry na to, o mo na siya ginatawag na to nga gusto na to i-predict. So, pag natay 6 dire, unsa ang iyang mahimong value? Pag natay 7, unsa ang iyang mahimong value? Pag natay 8, unsa iyang mahimong value? Okay, so how do we solve that one? We can solve that one using a linear model. Okay, so when we say a linear model, we can use this very common, I know na-encounter na ninyo ni siya, si y is equals to mx plus b. Wherein our m is the slope, and then our b is the y-intercept. Okay, so when we say y-intercept, it's the initial value, while when we say slope, it's the rate of change. Rate of change. And change. Okay. Okay, so the rate of change. So rate of change, Kanilang na example atong gamiton. Pag nakay duha ka points, diara, rate of change is rise divided by run. Okay, so this is rise and then this is run. So to compute for the slope, you get rise over run. So if I have here 10, and then this would be 30, and then kani siya kay 200, example, and then kani siya kay 300, rise is equals to y1, and then this is your y0, for example, y1 and y0. Rise is equals to 1 or y minus y0 over the run, which is x1 minus x0. Kani siya imong x1, kani siya ang imuhang x0. Okay? So, y1, which is 300 minus 200 over x1, which is 30 minus 10. Okay? So, 300 minus 200, you have 100. 30 minus 10, you have 20. So, if you're going to divide that one, you have 100 divided 20, that's 5. So, your slope is equals to 5. And the y-intercept is usually the initial value, which is 200. So if we have y is equals to m, which is 5, and then you have another input here na, let me say 40 plus b, that would be the value of your new y. Okay, so kung nakay-extend pa ninyo diri, ang imuhang prediction dira, 40. Okay, so 40 times 5, mo na siya ang imuhang mx plus b, which is your initial value diri na pila man ni siya 200. So pag na ako'y 40 diri na idagdag sa x, ang ako ang y would be 400. So mo na siya diri akong 400. So diri ako ang next point for the 40. Okay, and then pwede na nako siya mabutangan og line. That's for the concept lang of predicting the y for a new value or for the new input for your x. Okay? So now, what if we have kani siya mo lang ni ang atoa lang gigamit diri na points kanilang duha ka points. So what if we have this 5 points, we have 5 inputs that we are going to use as our training data to find for this line of best fit kani siya nga line. Okay? Reason sa ako ni siya ha. Itong eraser. Reason ako ni siya. Okay, so again, what we will be using is that we will look for the slope of the line. We will look for the slope of the line and its intercept. We already have the model, which is a linear model, but our model now will try to learn for the value of our coefficients, which are the slope and the y-intercept. So kato ato ang pangitaon. Pila ning slope na to and pila ang ato ang y-intercept for us to be able to predict the value of our next input. So para makapredict ta kaning value ni 6, 7, and 8, pangitaon nato ang line of best fit for this specific graph. Okay? So, kato siya. Mo to siya ang ato ang task karon. So again, ang unsa gito nga different components sa machine learning, we need to have our input. So nanata si x. We need to have the set of all outputs na to. Okay, possible output, which is si y. But since this is linear, since this is continuous data meaning dili specific ang number of outputs na pwede na to i-print. Kay all possible real numbers, pwede man may mong value ni y. So we can use linear regression for that. And then we have the what you call this, performance, which is performance evaluation, which is matunan na mamaya kung unsa ang pag-compute sa error. And then next is the model. Okay, so we have now your model. Now, the task is to look for the line of best fit. So line of best fit here would be, kung may tag line of best fit, unsa ang i-draw ni mo na line that will get or ma-hit niya ang maximum number of or ang pinakadaghan na number of points. Kung dili man niya ma-hit ang tanan or ang majority of the points, mas duol siya sa all ang distance between the line and the points is mas gagmay. Okay, so for example, if mag-draw ko og line dire na paana, okay, ang ma-hit lang niya na possible point is kanina point. If ang and then the other points medyo lagyo na kaayo ang iyahang distance, okay, sa line of best fit. Okay? So dili kani ang ako ang gamiton nga line. If mag-draw pud ko og line nga paani, example, okay? Ang iyahang ma-hit lang na possible point is kaning isa lang ka point. And then ang distance niya ani na point medyo layo ra pud kaayo. Okay? So dili ka na line ang ako ang possibly na magamit. Best fit na line. So if ang ako ang ma-draw na line is ingani, okay? So ang ako ang na-hit na point possibly is duha ka point. So kani ang dapat na target na line nga ako ang ma-draw afterwards. So how do we get this kind of line? Para if na ako'y bag-o diri na input na 6, for example, okay, makapredict ko na ang value ni 6, ang input nga 6, ang iyahang y would be somewhere diari banda. Okay? So naa diara banda nga point siya maadto sa imong y. Okay? So how do we know this one? This prediction. Paano nato ni siya makuha ni siya na point? Okay? So to do that, we first get the midpoint of all this point. Okay? We need to first get the midpoint of all these points. Okay, so, sige, dali na lang ako sa gilid, ibutang. Next na lang ko maghimo og frame pag solution nato is kwan. Okay. So, to get the midpoint of these data points, okay, so kani siya na data point, yung tag midpoint of main kag midpoint somewhere dire. Okay? So if you have point A and you have point B, kani ang imuhang at kani atong ang ginatry og pangita ang kanang midpoint. Okay? So pag duha lang na siya ka points dinhi, pag duha lang na siya ka point, you have x1 and y1 and you have x2 and y2. To get the midpoint, kani si C is equals to sabi siya, x1 plus kani si x ni B, which is x2, tapos divided by 2, and then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. That's how you get the midpoint. Okay? So basically, if you have more points, so if napakay ika-third point diari, kung napakay third point din extend nato ni siya, x3, y3, to get the midpoint of this 3 points, plus, pwede ka diri, x3 divided by 3 plus y3 divided by 3. Okay, so that's how we get the midpoint. Okay, so again, first, we get the midpoint. Okay, later magamit na to ni siya. Just take note of this one on how we get the midpoint. So, in order for us to cater all possible number of data point, okay, all possible number of data point, to get the midpoint, let's say C, our formula would be the sum of all your x, I, where I will start from your first input to the number of n. Okay? Divided by the total number of your x, or the total, the count, total count. Okay? Ang kung pila ang count sa imuhang x's. And the sum of all your y, where I is equals to 1 to m. So, ibig sabihin, kung naa kay 10 ka data points dire, 10 ka data points, n is equals to 10, m is equals to 10, ang imuhang i-divide ani kay overall 10. So, mura na siya, ang imuhang ginakuha is the mean. Okay? So, kung kanya to i-consider, what would be the value of our C? So, that would be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Mo ni siya. Kung i-sum na to siya. So that's 1 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 6 plus 4, 10 plus 5. That's 15. Divided by, pila sila kabuok? 5, comma, kanina pod, the sum of all your y's from 1 to m. So that is, m is equals to 5. Kay 5 man sila kabuok. So that's 3 plus 4, 7 plus 2, 9 plus 4, 13 plus 5, 18. So your y now is 18 over, pila sila kabuok? 5. Okay? So your midpoint is equals to 15 divide 5, 3, and then 18 divide 5 would be 3.6. Okay? So this is your midpoint. So if I'm going to plot this one, 3, nakoy 3 din and then 3.6, somewhere dire, ang midpoint sa kuang line of best fit is kani. Okay? So, mo ni siya ang ako ang, or what we call the regression line. So, mo ni siya ang midpoint sa ako ang regression line. So, kung mag-regression line ko din dapat maigo na ko na siyang midpoint. So, somewhere diari ako ang regression line. Dapat maigo na ko na siya hantod sa end. Okay? So, nga na siya. But then, it's not yet final kay wala pa man nato nabalaan kung unsa jud ang itsura sa to ang line. Okay? So, ato lang gikuha sa karon is ang midpoint. So, kabalo na ta nga ang ako ang regression line, ang midpoint niya is naa diari 3 and 3.6. Okay? Ang pag-draw sa line, wala pa ta kabalo. I-compute pa nato na siya. Okay? So, that's the first thing that we need to do. You get the midpoint. So, to get the midpoint, tingnan yun lang siya. You get the mean of your x and then your y. Okay? So, question so far. So, hopefully, kana siya na part, klaro pa na siya. Okay? Next. Next problem is to compute for the slope. Okay? So, pangitaon na to si slope. So, to compute for the slope, we will be using the formula na, sige, gamitin ako ng block. So, to compute for the slope, we will be using the formula, the sum, all your x, minus the mean of all your x, and all your y, xi na siya, yi, minus the mean, all your y, over x sub I minus mean squared. Okay? So that's how you get your slope. Okay? Kanya itong formula na gamiton. So kung ibalik na to itong table na to ganina na x, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, y is equals to 3, 4, 2, 4, saan itong isa dali? 5. Okay? We first get, kani siya, kung sa nato ni, kani, xi minus mean ni x. Okay? So first, you get xi minus mean. Okay. Kitsa man ni si xi, mo ni siya. Mag-iterate ta dire. So as I solve this one, you try to think of it. How are you going to do this one in a program? Okay? So to get this one, kani siya na part, we iterate all the values of our x. So from xi, so this is our I, the initial value of the variable that will iterate all through our x input, where I is equals to 1, kani siya, minus our mean x. So again, the mean x is the katong gi-add tapos gi-divide, which is kani siya. So ibig sabihin, this one is equivalent to 1 minus 3 is equals to negative 2. 2 minus 3, that is negative 1. 3 minus 3, that is 0. 4 minus 3, that is 1. 5 minus 3, that is 2. Okay? So, mo ni siya ang mahimong kung ibutang nato siya sa isa ka variable, ang sulod niya ani na list, kung list ni siya, would be something like this one. Okay? Next, we get kani. Okay? So, to get that one, that is yi minus your mean. Okay? So, y. So, the mean of your y is katong gi-add divided by 5. So, mo ni siya. Okay, so 3.6. So 3 minus 3.6, that is negative 0.6. 4 minus 3.6, that is 0.4. 2 minus 3.6, that is negative 1.6. 4 minus 3.6, that is 0.4. Okay, and then 5 minus 3.6, that is 1.4. Okay, so kung butang natin din siya sa code, ang sulod sa imong program or sulod sa imong list would contain something like this one. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is, suma na itong sunod buhatan na ni Saya ha. I-solve natin, kaya nakuha naman natin ni siya, i-squared natin ni kani siya. Okay? So, pila man ang squared anan niya? 4. So, we have kani x minus x mean squared. So, that is negative 2 squared would be 4. Negative 1 squared, that is 1. 0 squared, which is 0. 1 squared is 1. 0 ni siya. 2 squared is equals to 4. Okay? And then, sa pa man itong kailangan, kuha na to ni siya. Okay? So, kuha na to na siya. That is, kani. So, basically, mo ni siya. So, multiply na to ni negative 2. Okay, para klaro lang, xi minus x mean. Tapos yi minus y mean. Okay? So, para makuha na to ni siya, i-multiply lang na to, negative 2. Ano na to? Negative 2 times 0.6. Okay? So, that's 1.2. Negative 1 times 0.4, that's negative 0.4. 0 times negative 1.6, that is 0. 1 times 0.4, that is 0.4. And then 2 times 1.4, that is pila? 2.8. Okay. Okay, and then next, ingon siya, isum daw nato siya. So, isum daw nimo ang kaning, napa na siya isum diri. The sum. Okay, summation. Okay. So, ingon siya diri na siya symbol diri nga summation. So, isum lang nimo na siya. Isum nimo siya dinhi. Okay, kanilang mo daw yung isum. And then, kani ang iyang isum. Okay, so, i-add natin ni siya. Ilan man ni siya? 4 plus 1, 5 plus 0, 5 plus 1, 6 plus 4, 10. And then you add this one, 1.2 plus negative 0.4 plus 0 plus 0.4 plus 2.8. You have 4. Okay? So, kompleto na. Kompleto na ni tanan elements. Now, we can get our slope. So, to get the slope, that is kani over kani. So, that is 4 over 10. So, our slope is equals to 0.4. Okay? So, that's our slope. This is our slope for this graph. So, since na naman tayo slope, we now get the question so far sa pagkuha sa slope. Question on how to get the slope? None. Okay? Okay, very good. Next is we get the y-intercept. So, to get the y-intercept, okay, so to get the y-intercept, we just simply use our linear model, which is mx plus b, and then we substitute the value of our slope. Okay, so that is m, which is 4. And then we substitute that all our y's would point to the y's of our midpoint, which is 3.6. So, mo ni siya ang ato ang midpoint, si y. Okay, and then our x would be our input here. Kani siya. Okay. Katong midpoint ni x na lang ni midpoint ang ato ang gamiton. Okay. So, which is 3 plus b is equals to 1.2 plus b 3.6, and then b. Transfer it here para makuha na to si b. So, the value of our b is 2.4. Okay? So, now we have, kompleto na ang ato ang linear model. We now have our coefficient for the value for the m, and then we also have here the value for our b. Okay, so kani ang imuhang, kani ang pangitaon ni linear model as we go along with the training. Ang effective value for your slope and the value for your y-intercept. Okay, so now let's try to plot the regression line. Okay, using this different value. Okay, so if we have here, kaning ato ang graph din he. Okay, to solve for the y, y, we try to input here our test data, training data, 1 to 5. So m is equals to 0.4 times, again, at our linear model, which is mx plus b. So if we input 1 plus b, which is 2.4, your y prediction is 2.8. If your x is equals to 2 plus 2.4, your y prediction will now be 3.2. Okay, so again, what we're trying to look for is the line of best fit or the regression line. If y is equals to 3 plus 2.4, your y would be 3.6. Puro to na lang ako tanan training data na to. Is 4 plus 2.4. Your y prediction, so again, this is your output y, and this is your y prediction. Butang na lang nato siya og kana, y prime. Y prime is your y prediction. So this one, 0.4 times 4 plus 2.4 is equals to 4. And then we have y is equals to 0.4 times 5 plus 2.4 is equals to 4.4. Okay? So if we plot this one, use the red. So pag y daw ang x, ang prediction sa ato ang line of sa ato ang regression line will be at line 2.8. So pag 1, somewhere siya dire. Dire siya exactly 3. Okay. Pag 2, nado siya sa 3.2. Somewhere siya dire. Okay. And then pag 3, na siya sa 3.6 kani siya. Pag 4, na siya sa 4. Okay, igo siya dire. Pag 5, na siya sa 4.4. Okay? And ingon ta ang y-intercept is the initial value, which is 2.4. So initial value, which is 2.4. Butang na to siya dire 2.4 somewhere dire. Okay. Or pag pag nasa 0 ni siya, pag 0, na siya sa 2.4. Tiwi mo gud akong line. Okay. So somewhere dire siya. Okay? So if we draw the line, mo ni siya ang atoang regression line. Okay? So pag nag-extend pa na siya, mo na siya itong regression line. So now, using this prediction line, we can now predict based on the data point that we have, kaning training data na to, kanina mga data point, na if natay bagong value na 6, okay? If mag-input siya 6 din ang value sa imuhang y would be somewhere here. Naduol siya diri na line. Okay? Yes, mo na ni siya ang line of best fit. So mo na ni siya ang line of best fit nimo. So tanaw na to kung nanatay prediction, mag-predict na ta sa value sa y sa imuhang 6, we use this formula. Kamo naman ni ang imuhang line of best fit. Okay, based on kanina mga data set. Okay, again, we consider this training data, kanina x and y na training data. Okay, to come up with this line of best fit. Okay, so we get the value of 6 kung natay input na 6. So 0.4 times 6 plus 2.4, ilan man na siya? We have 4.8. Okay? So, kung i-plot na to na siya, dire, ang may mong value sa imuhang 6 kay na siya somewhere dire, 4.8. So, kung 5 ni siya dire, so kung na dire imong 5, ang imong 6 somewhere dire siya. Okay? Okay. And then 7 and 8. So, ang mga predictions ni Mana as you go along with your inputs, the array would fit into the line na siya. Muna siya ang imuhang predictions. Okay? Using the training data that you had kaning 1 to 5. Okay? So far, question for that. Okay? Wala? Okay, so we'll now ma-visualize ba ninyo siya kung try ninyo siya code? Okay, kasi kung wala, I want you to write a code, write a program. Dili lang sana ko ni siya i-grade, but sa inyohang classroom, i-enable lang to na ako. Bakit? Tanawon na ako using a Colab, tanawon na ako kung saan ninyo siya pag-solve na ma-compute ninyo ang slope and y-intercept and you are able to predict the value of succeeding input na 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Okay? So we'll just use this one kanilang sa gihapon na nga tong gamiton as training data sa inyong exercise. Okay? So dili lang sana siya graded exercise. Okay, I'll share one collab sa classroom. And then ito ninyo ibutang inyong solution, possible solution. Okay, you try to solve it using the formula that I had shared. Okay, so I've added a file, TLA linear regression. So try to solve for the using the training data. Upload na ko tong Jamboard na to dire. Lang ha. Pwede mo na siya ma-rename. No? Using the formula na ako ang bihatag sa inyo ha. Solve for the slope and y-intercept and predict for the value of the x where x is equals to 6 to 10 or any value of your input. Okay, using only the training data na gipakita na ko ganina. Send sound sa TLA, nasa classroom. Okay. blank gid ning Python na file. Unsay Python na file? Ang collab na blanko na siya kung gihatag sa inyo ha. So you start with uh sa initializing your data set. Okay, so your training data, your X, so it will be a set of nakay set of X, which is 1 to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then napod kay set of Y, which is kanang 3, 4, 3, 2, ilan akong gisulat dira? 3, 4, 2, 4, 5? 3, 4, 2, 4, 5. Okay, to give you an idea on saan ninyo siya pag-start, no? You can use one library or package that you can use is NumPy. Okay, so it's a powerful mathematical library that you can use for that you can use in Python. Okay? Para dali lang ninyo makuha ang mean. Katong pagkuha gani sa midpoint, di ba? To get the midpoint, we just simply computed for the mean, mean of your x and mean of your y. Okay? So, disregard lang sa ning sa pandas ug sa matplotlib. Ipakita na ko sa inyo asa ninyo pwede gamiton ning kani siya na package. Okay? So, you can use NumPy and then initialize the value of your x and your y as something like this one. Okay? So, pareha sa itong gigamit nato sa itong training data. And then, at first, we get or we computed for the we identified the value of your midpoint. Okay? So, katong sa to ang kani. Okay? So, to get this one, 3 and 3.6, we computed for the mean, which is this one, the sum of all your x's divided by the total number of your x, comma, for your y, the sum of all your y divided by the total number of your y. Okay, and then we come up with this one and this one. Okay, so to give you an idea on how to get that midpoint, pwede ninyo siya inganion. Okay, so you can use numpy.mean, okay, to get the mean of the x and the y. And then to get the number of your n, you can use len. Okay, so pwede mo mag-start og ingana. Mag-check ko by, ano siguro, by 2 p.m. Okay, tanawon na ko inyong mga gipang trabaho. Although this is not graded, I will be checking your collab work. Okay, so kanong wala nakapas, ayaw lang sa ninyo ni i-mind ning kaning line number 5 ug line number 7 ug kaning line number 4. Gamiton na ninyo ni pandas pag katong from CSV file na ang atong dataset. Okay, excuse ako kadali ha. Okay, I'm actually looking at your work. Katong mga nakita na ko diri sa classroom. Be sure you are able to explain what you're doing, ha? Dili kay magkuha lang og code sa net. I would advise you to use the process na ipakita na ko diri kay na. So if I look for this one, you should be able to pinpoint asa dapit sa inyohang code kung asa ni siya. Kani. Okay? If asa ni siya banda, kani. Kani na point. Because if you're going to look at the web, daghan jud kayo nag-possible implementation sa linear regression, and you could even run a sample code na mag-input lang kag X, ipagawas na niya ang Y. But what I would want you to do is to understand the process of finding the line of best fit. Okay, so pag pangitaon ako asa dira ang pag-compute sa y-intercept, you should be able to identify to me kung asa dapit diara. Okay, so so this is how you actually do it based on the formula that we had learned in katong buhat nato dire sa previous frame. Okay? So first we get the midpoint kaning line of line 8 and 9. So kung tanawon nato siya sa to ang kung tanawon nato siya sa to ang previous na screen, um, kanina siya to ang ginatry og kuha dire. So we first get the midpoint of both the x and the y data points. Okay, so again, si x and y nato diri is our training data. These are our training data to get the line of best fit, and then we use that line, we use that straight line to predict the succeeding values for our unknown inputs or unknown x's or unknown independent variables. Okay, so first we get the midpoint. So how to do that one? We can just do it something like this one at line 8 and line 9. And then, since equal naman yung value ni x and ni y, same lang siya ng number of, so dapat same yun na siya, no? Kay, all x's should have, again, the property of a function that all x's should have one and only one possible output. Okay? And that's how you get the length. And then we initialized here some variables for the numerator, denominator, the slope, and the y-intercept. Okay, so next, the next thing that we did is that we first get the value of the mean, which is the mean of your x, kani siya. We subtract it to each value of your x. So, mo na siya si I. So, ibig sabihin, mag-iterate ta through all of your x's times katong each value of your y tapos giminus siya sa mean sa imuhang y. So, asa man na siya dapit di ari? Mo ni siya. Okay? So, ato ang gibuhat dire, kani siya nga loop, for loop na ni, is that mag-iterate daw siya for I in range mo nang gikuha na to ang value sa to ang n kay para ang iyahang iteration hantud lang sa kung pila ka buok ang imuhang x. Okay? So mag-iterate siya kani siya in range kung pila ka buok ang imuhang x. Okay? So next, we get first katong formula na to kanina na x sub I minus x mean or katong x mean, so mo ni siya. Nakuha naman na to ang x mean, no? So ato ang buhaton is that kung sa na to ang x sub I, okay? So kung I at index 0 or x sub 1, okay? Which is si 1 minus the mean, which is ang answer aning kaning imuhang line number 8 times. So, kani siya na line, ay kanilang siya kaning x sub I minus mean x mo ni siya. Okay? And then gisulod na to siya sa loop para kaning I nato dinhi mag-usab-usab. Okay? So mag-usab-usab ni siya. Tapos, gimultiply na to siya. Kani siya, gimultiply na to siya sa all of your y, mag-iterate siya, all of your y minus the mean of your y. Okay? So, humana ang imuhang ato siyang kanilang na part. Kanilang na part. Okay? Kaya lang, nagdagdag tawag summation. So, summation, you can use sum, kaya nagamit naman tag NP dire, or you can use this one. Well, I actually like this one kay mas ganahan man gud ko pag mas makontrol na ko siya. So, I use this one to get the summation. So, pwede na ko siya plus equals para makuha na ko ang summation sa katong sa numerator. And then we get the denominator. So, ingon siya, ang denominator daw is x sub I minus the mean tapos squared. So, we know that squared is exponent. Okay? So, gamit ta ni exponent na 2. X sub I minus min x tapos squared. And then you get the slope, so that's your slope, numerator divided by the numerator, the denominator. So, ingato lang siya ang iyahang process. Okay? So, kung moingon ko, kung mangutan ako, asa man diara ang kani siya na part, kung kaon ako ni siya na list. Okay? So, basically, kanilang ang imuhang i-print. Kanilang imuhang kaon. Tapos, ibutang nimo siya sa isa ka list. Okay? Or possible na maghimo na pud kag isa ka ingani, tapos kanilang ang imuhang kaon. Okay? And then so on kanina pod, kung katong na pod ato ang solution, katong na pod ang ato ang kwaon. So you can explore that one. So but basically kay nakita na ko as I checked your collab, naay ka ng ano kayo, taas kayo ang implementation no every aspect kay nag-loop, which is okay kay nag-follow jud ka sa process, but then as our goal katong main formula in getting the slope is kato lang kani siya. Okay, so we have the slope, and then y-intercept is simpler na lang siya kay ibalhin na lang nato no, or i-transpose na lang nato ang value ni y kato ni min y minus slope times min x. Okay? So, tong y is equals to mx plus b na to. Okay, so karon dili siya y is equals to mx plus b, pero gibalhin nato si mx sa pikas kay y, okay, para makuha nato ang value ni b. Okay? So if you are to implement this one, makuha na nimo karon ang imuhang slope and ang imuhang y-intercept. So you are now able to solve, pwede na nimo to predict ma-solve ning maing ani. I-input na lang nimo ang value sa imuhang mga x's. Okay? So kani siya ang imuhang mga independent variable. Okay? Now, so karon now that we have for example mag-plot na ta, i-plot nato tong si kani ato ang nakuha ng mga values dire. Okay? So, lagyan. Sige na lang. Okay, sabon lang nato to atong line. So kung 1, value niya kay 3. Kung 2, ang value niya kay 4. Tapos kung 3, ang value niya kay 2. 4, ang value niya kay 4. Kung 5, ang value niya kay 5. Okay? And then, when we got the line of best fit, katong nanatay mga katong regression line. So, ang prediction sa to ang regression line is that we'll start with katong value sa imuhang y-intercept. So, the value of your y-intercept is 2.4, and that is your initial value, si y-intercept. So, at 0, the value of your line is at 2.4. So, mga somewhere diri na siya. And then, yun siya. Pag 1 daw, ang value would be 2.8. So, somewhere dire. Okay? And then, pag 2, ang value kay 3.2. Dire. Pag 3, ang value kay 3.6. So, just 4 siya mag-4. Dira. Pag 4, ang value kay 4. So, exact. And then 5, kaya ang value kay 4.4. Somewhere dire. Okay? So, mo ni siya tong line. Okay. Now, we get how much or how good is your regression line using our performance evaluator. So, to evaluate how good is our line or how good is our prediction, we use this what we call R squared. Okay? R squared. Kana siya. Okay? We use R squared. At sa ito ang ginatry og measure dire. Kwaon na to ang error from all of the data points that you had as your training data to the regression line. So, unsa siya kalayo sa regression line? So, basically, ang ato ang ginatry og measure dire is the goodness of your regression line by measuring the error that it got from the actual training data versus its predictions. Okay? Or its kaning iyahang regression line or regression analysis. So kaniya to ang ginatry og measure dire kana. Okay, kana. Kani hanto dira. And then kani 0 na siya basically and kana. Okay? So kani siya ng mga error ang ato ang i-try og kuha using the R squared. Now, when you say R squared, by formal definition, it is a statistical measure of how close the data are to the fitted regression line. So basically, how close are the data points in the regression line? It is also known as coefficient of determination or the coefficient of multiple determination. In R squared, it ranges from 1 to 100, where the closer it is to 100 or the closer it is to 100, the best fit it is. Okay, so basically, if mas close siya to 100, mas accurate ang iyahang ang predictions. Okay? But usually, pag ingani lang kagamay ang ato ang training data, 5 lang kabuok, mag-expect gid ta nga baba pa kayo na ang iyahang ang score. Like dili pa gid siya capable of generalizing everything na na kuan dili siya able na maka-generalize pag yun og same kind of data. Not like kung 1,000 na, 5,000 na ang ato ang sample data set, mas makakuha na siya, maka-generalize well na siya. Okay? So, to get the R squared, okay? So, we use the formula na, okay, si R is equals to 1 minus y sub I, every data point, minus your y predictions. Okay, muna itong y predictions over all of your data point y minus your mean. Okay? So, if we have this excess, kaning ato ang independent variable na 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, then we have a y nga 3, 4, 2, 4, 5. And then, ang ato ang mga predictions ganina, kani, okay, man ato ang mga predictions, no? Okay, based sa ato ang slope and intercept, based sa na-come up na model nato, sa ato ang model, ang ato ang mga predictions kay kaning y prime nato dire. Predictions are 2.8, 3.2, 3.6, 4, and 4.4. Okay? So now, we are now ready to solve for this one. Wait, kulang. Squared pa ni siya. Ayan. Okay. So, y sub I, kani siya, y sub I minus y predictions So, kani siya, 3 minus 2.8. So, magbutang na lang ta dirig. Y sub I minus Y predictions. So, that is 3 minus 2.8, 0.2. And then 4 minus 3.2, that is 0.8. 2 minus 3.6, that is negative 1.6. 4 minus 4, 0. And then 5 minus 4.4, that is 0.6. And then you get the square of this one. Kung ano to ang iyahang square value. Squared. Para makuha natin eh. Okay. So we have 0.4.64, 2.56, 0.36. Okay? Then, kanina po sa baba itong kaon. So, y sub I. So, kanina mo hang y. Where I is equals to, kung sa for loop na siya, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, y sub I minus your mean. So, that is 3 minus the mean of your y is 3.6. So, that's 3 minus 3.6, you have negative 6.4, then negative 1.6, then 0.4, then 1.4. Okay, and then we square this one. So, si y sub I minus y prime, or y mean, I mean. So, squared. So, that is 0.36, 0.16, 2.56, 0.16, 1.96. Okay? So, ano siya? And then, you deduct it. Kung ano mo ang iyahang sum. Okay? Kulangan pa din ni siya sum diri. Okay. Okay, so you get the sum sa kaning gipang square nato. So, that is 3.6. And then this one will be 5.2. So, kung kanilang siya, kanilang na value, so we got 3.6 divided by 5.2, tapos 1 minus. Okay? So, that would be your error. So, I think nasa 0.30 something na siya, which is, ingon na to, the closer it is to 100, the better is the line of your prediction or line of best fit. Okay? So, you add this one to your code, ang pag-compute for the error, and you will be able to get something like this one. Okay. So, let's say you have here the input and then we computed for the y and then katong nag-loop ta para makuha na to tong slope na to. Then you get the slope and then the y-intercept. So katong gi-explain ako ganina. So if we print this one, we get the same slope and y-intercept as we have computed it manually. So if you will be asked for the model of your linear regression, what you're going to give them is unsa man ang imuhang model for this one. Dili code. So your model, your linear regression model, given that is katong f of x nimo is equals to 0.4 x plus 2.4. Okay? So, mo ni siya ang ato ang ginapangita. Wherein, ang x na to ang ato ang independent variable. So, what, no matter what independent variable or independent data or bago na data na or sa x na i-input dira, we will be able to solve for the y. Okay? Given this model. Okay? So, question, if lahi ba ato ang training data? Lahi pud ni siya na model? Lahi pud ang ato ang model? Yes, of course. So mo na siyang the more the data, the better because it will be able to capture more realistic data. Okay? Another thing is that like for example kami, the more nga news or tweet or Facebook post na amo ang ma-mine or makuha, ma-extract from these different social media platforms, the better. Kay mas makahatag mi og analysis. Okay, the better that we can give analysis to that. Kay kung gamay lang na siya, ibig sabihin, wala pa na mo na-capture halos tanan, like say for example, sentiments or um, kanang mga emotions through text. Okay? So, pag i-ask mo sa model, kani ang inyong iatag. Okay? So, kana siya. Now, we will be computing for the error. So, ingon ta, kani siya, example lang ni siya kung gusto nato siya i-plot, but this is not necessary kung dili ni siya kailangan yun no. So, exactly. Kung gusto nato i-plot tong ato ang x and y values. Now, what if natay ang ani na dataset? Okay, kani ato ang training data, dili kaning 1 to 5 lang. So medyo ano siya. Lagyo-lagyo ang iyahang distance no kung tan-aw ninyo na ay somewhere nga nagtapok lang siya diri banda and then na ay points diri nga taglagyo ang iyahang distance. So if we are going to run this one, ang awan ninyo mag-change pud na ang iyahang slope ug ang iyahang y-intercept. Okay? So basically, ang imuhang model, lahi na pud ang iyahang na-learn. Okay? So the model has learned a different thing because you have a different type, you have a different data set. Okay? So, mag-change ang imong model. So, ang imo na pong i-key in dito na bago nimong ang imong model is kani siya for the slope and then this one for the y-intercept. Okay? And if you're going to plot that one, of course, it will give us a different view. Okay, so nagtapok siya diri tanan. Okay, but what it actually does is that it tries to get as much as possible na ma-capture niya tanan data points nimo na lesser ang error sa iyahang katong gipakita na ko ganiya sa Jamboard na pag i-compute niya ang distance from one data point to that certain line, mas gamay ang iyahang error. Kay kung ang iyahang gimo diri is kani, nagbutang siya line padulong diri, ang iyahang error for this data point dako kayo. So basically, pag mag-compute sa error, mas layo siya sa 100. So we said na dapat mas close to 100, mas better ang ang line of best fit. Okay? So for to get the error or to solve for the error or kung i-program na nato siya ang pag-compute sa error, again, going back to the Jamboard, ang formula nato is y iterations or every iterations to your y minus the y prediction over y sub I, all iterations to your y minus the mean. And then you square those two values, numerator and denominator. Tapos, you get the sum. Okay? So, mo ni siya. Katong sa imuhang, para sa imuhang numerator. Okay? And then this one for your denominator. So, it's really easier for you to play with the code pag ang imuha man kung variables, okay, dili lang siya purely kay x, y, mga ingana siya. Okay, so it should be something na descriptive good sa imuhang gusto na buhaton. So like for example, kani siya, these are my y predictions. So that's why I named it as y pred or y predict or something like that. So ayaw kayo mo pagtipid sa naming sa variable. So as much as possible, be descriptive with the naming of your variables. Okay? So kani siya, y prediction is mo ni siya nga to ang mx plus b. Okay, so mx plus b. And then we compute for the error. So the error for this one, okay, so 0.36 siya. Okay, so medyo layo pa siya sa 100. So the more, if you're going to play with this, the more data, the better ang inyong predictions. Okay? So, sa panahon ibutang diri. Okay, so this is an example if we wanted to add, if we wanted to ask for an input. So maglahi gyud ang iyahang ihatag nga y pag mag-change pud ang imuhang data set. So for example, kaganina, kung katong 1 to 5 lang ang ato ang training data, which is katong very small amount lang siya, ang value sa ato ang 6 pag mag-predict siya would be 4.8. Tapos, ang value sa 7, pag mag-predict siya, 5.2. So, naa siya murag increase na 0.4 ang iyahang per input. Kung same lang ang run or same lang ang rate of change sa imuhang slope. But then, since nag-change ta sa tuang data set, okay, since nag-change ta sa tuang training data, tanaw na to kung unsang iyahang prediction, bagong prediction, kung natay value na input na 6. Okay, so na siya sa 15.21. So kung ano ta, kung magamit ta og incremental method in training our model, pwede nato na kani ato ang mga predictions. Okay, pwede nato ni siya idagdag dito sa ato ang training data. Okay, tapos we train again the model based on the predictions nato ang ihatag or ato ang na-predict. Okay? So, question? Ma'am, kung dako ang error, unsa ang gina-interpret lisod i-predict? Pag dako ang error, ibig sabihin either, ang basically, pag dako ang error, ibig sabihin, layo siya sa 100. Okay, mo na ang pasabot. Okay. The more, the bigger, the closer it is to 100, kani siya, ay, mo ba na itong error? The closer this is to 100, the better. Okay. Mo na siyang R squared. Okay, again, the closer it is to 100, the better. Now, the more siya nalayo sa 100, ibig sabihin, ang iyahang, kani man ato ang ginatry og compute dira. Ang iyahang predictions, kaning line of regression line niya, wala niya na-capture or wala siya nakaagi og daghan na data points. Okay? But, ang goal ani niya is that ang data point niya, tanan data point, if muagi ni siya na line, lesser ang error. Compared sa, kung ang regression line nga na-create niya is something like this one, kung for example, horizontal line ang iyahang, ang ato ang gi-plot na regression line or na-plot na regression line sa imuhang model, ang error ani nila na mga points kani siya dire, mas dako. Okay, so ibig sabihin, pag i-compute na tong R squared, mas nilayo pa siya sa 100. Okay, mas mulayo siya sa 100. Again, in R squared, it ranges from 1 to 100, where the closer it is to 100, the best fit it is. Okay, so again, ang gina-compute na to sa R squared is kani siya, the distance between the data point and the regression line. So the more na dako ang imuhang R squared, the better siya ang iyahang fit. Pero the more siya nalayo sa 100, ibig sabihin medyo dako-dako pa ang error. Kailangan pa i-adjust ang line. Okay, so to do that, how to do that? Either you add more data point kani siya, for example, kanina mga data point, tanawon nimo siya, ang distance kani pa lang o kani og kani siya na point. Daghan pa og points diri na pwede unta kung ma-plot nato siya, kung ma-plot siya, mas mag-learn pa siya better. Okay, or kani siya nga regression line, mas maka-capture pa siya or mas ma-adjust pa ni siya na line based sa kaning points nga naa diri. Tawon mo gud nimo diri ang distance niya og kani siya layo kayo. Kaning iyahang run, kung kuhaon nato ang iyahang um, rate of change from here to here, medyo mas dako gid siya. Dako siya. So, ang naka-cause nga nung layo kayo siya sa 100 is obviously, kung tawon na to sa graph, kani siya nga mga points. Okay, layo kayahang distance. This is y minus sa to ang formula kaniha ang pag-compute aning y kani siya is this one. Y sub I minus y prediction. Mo ni siya. Okay? So, pag gusto ninyo i-print ang mga errors per data point, kani ang inyong kwaon. Y sub I minus y predictions. Okay? So, questions? Wala na. So, if none, I would want you to continue with your experiment. Okay? So, pwede ninyo ni siya i-paste lang na ko ni dito sa Jamboard ang code and then you can try this one out. Okay? So, dili lang na ko ihatag ang Python notebook para i-explore gid ninyo siya, i-experiment ninyo siya. And then, dili sa ko maghatag og graded na learning activity karon, next meeting na. Okay, so next week na ko maghatag og graded na learning activity. Okay, so far, question? You can even try na i-try na ninyo og input ang pag magikan siya sa CSV file. Okay? Try inputting data coming from a CSV file. Okay. And then, moto nyo yung butang na X. And you can use the movie dataset, the movie review dataset. And then, ibutang ninyo sa X. Ang X ninyo would be the gross. And then, ang Y ninyo would be the sales. Tanawa ang iyahang regression analysis. Okay, kung naa ba siya a good predictor ba ang gross. Tapos i-compare ninyo ang regression line pag ang inyong X kay katong budget tapos ang inyong Y kay ang sales. Compare ninyo ang gross ug ang budget kung asa ang mas good predictor for sales. Okay, pwede na kana ang inyong i-explore. Okay? And then kato ibutang na ko ni na code dito sa Jamboard. Okay, so if wala na question, you can continue with your experiment. I'll just be here if you have questions.